When a waitress named Dana served Barron Trump at a quiet cafe, she anticipated nothing more than the routine monotony of her shift. Little did she know what he left behind, a heartfelt note and an astonishing tip, would move her to tears and spark a conversation across the nation. The scent of espresso mingled with the faint aroma of fresh pastries, filling the air in the cafe. The afternoon lull stretched longer than usual, with the hum of conversations tapering to a murmur. For Dana, the shift felt endless. Each tick of the clock dragged on, and every clink of cutlery reminded her of the hours she'd spent on her feet. As she wiped down the last table by the window, her thoughts drifted to the mounting stress in her life. Rent was due in 2 days, her phone bill remained unpaid, and tips had been dishearteningly small. Mere coins left behind by hurried patrons glued to their phones. Just one more hour, she thought, glancing at the clock. Her manager, an older woman with weary eyes, gave her a subtle look of encouragement, but Dana was already operating on autopilot. Then, the bell above the door chimed, pulling her focus back. A young man entered, tall and lean, dressed simply in a plain shirt and slacks that somehow exuded effortless style. 2 men followed closely behind, their watchful eyes scanning the room. They blended into the background, but their presence suggested a hint of importance. This wasn't the kind of place to attract high-profile guests. For a moment, Dana froze, her pen poised over her order pad. But professionalism took over, and she approached the table where the young man had settled. "Good afternoon," she said, offering her best smile. "Can I get you something to start?" The young man looked up, and Dana felt her breath catch. His face was striking, yet familiar. Recognition dawned. Barron Trump, the son of the former president. Her heart raced, but she steadied herself. This was just another customer, she reminded herself. "I'll have a cappuccino and one of those croissants," he said softly, his tone polite, yet reserved. Dana nodded, jotting down the order. As she turned back to the counter, she couldn't shake the fluttering in her chest. Was it nerves or exhaustion? Something about the moment stayed with her. She prepared his coffee with deliberate care, sneaking glances toward his table. Barron sat quietly, gazing out the window, seemingly lost in thought. Unlike most patrons, he wasn't engrossed in a phone or a laptop. His stillness intrigued her. When the cappuccino and croissant were ready, Dana approached his table, balancing the tray carefully. "Here you go," she said, placing the items in front of him. "Thank you," he replied, offering a faint smile. His words were simple, but they carried a sincerity that lingered. Dana returned to her tasks, yet her mind kept drifting back to the young man in the corner. Minutes passed, and the cafe's usual rhythm resumed. But then, Dana noticed something unusual. Barron pulled out a pen and scribbled on the receipt. He folded the paper neatly and tucked it beneath his empty cup before gathering his things and leaving. "Thank you for coming," Dana called out softly as he passed. He turned back slightly, offering another faint smile. "Have a good day," he said, and with that, he was gone. Dana approached the table to clear it, her eyes landing on the folded receipt. Picking it up, she unfolded it carefully. Her breath caught as she saw the tip, a sum so generous it made her knees weak. But it wasn't just the money that struck her. Scrawled above the tip was a handwritten note. "Your kindness and hard work don't go unnoticed. My family has been where you are. Stay strong. Brighter days are coming." Tears welled in Dana's eyes as she read the words again, letting their meaning sink in. Her exhaustion and worries seemed to fade, replaced by an overwhelming sense of being seen and appreciated. She tucked the note into her pocket, cherishing the unexpected kindness of a stranger who, against all odds, had noticed her. The next morning, The sun barely peeked through Dana's apartment window when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Groaning, she rolled over to check the screen, only to find dozens of notifications flooding her lock screen. "Why is everyone texting me?" she mumbled, squinting at the messages. "Girl, is this you? You're famous. Is this real?" Her thumb hovered over one message that included a link. Clicking it revealed a screenshot of a headline from the Daily Post. Barron Trump leaves Waitress, a touching note, and a huge tip. Internet reacts. Dana sat bolt upright, her heart hammering in her chest. The article detailed her story, word for word. A struggling waitress, an unexpected guest, a note filled with empathy, and a life-changing tip. Attached was a photo of the note itself, written in Barron's neat handwriting. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the article. How had this happened? Opening another message from a coworker, she read, "The guy at table 5 yesterday. Someone must have seen the note and snapped a picture. It's everywhere now." Her heart dropped. Everywhere? She flipped through her social media accounts, and sure enough, it was all there. On Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the note had gone viral. Hundreds of comments poured in. This is what the world needs more of. Barron Trump seems like such a kind soul. I don't care what anyone says. This is beautiful. Wait, what about the waitress? I hope she's okay. The more Dana read, the more overwhelmed she felt. Strangers were debating her life without knowing a single thing about her. Dropping her phone onto the bed, she buried her face in her hands. "What do I do now?" she whispered to herself. The sound of her mom's cough echoed from the next room, pulling Dana back to reality. Bills needed paying. Groceries needed buying. She couldn't afford to lose her head over this. But the pit in her stomach remained as she picked up her bag and hurried off to work. Her story, once private, now belonged to the world. The cafe was different that day. The moment Dana walked through the door, she felt the weight of eyes on her. Coworkers smiled at her with an unfamiliar pride, while regulars glanced up from their coffee cups, seemingly trying to confirm if she was the waitress from the article. Her manager greeted her with a wide grin. "You're a local hero now," she teased. Dana muttered, "I don't feel like one." "You should," her manager said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "What happened yesterday was special, Dana. Not everyone gets to be part of something like that." The words, meant to comfort, only made Dana feel more exposed. She wasn't special. She was just a waitress doing her job. And Barron, he hadn't done it for the attention. As she tied her apron and stepped onto the floor, Dana felt the weight of the world's eyes on her, even if they weren't physically there. By lunchtime, things reached a boiling point. A news crew had parked outside the cafe, complete with cameras and microphones. "Seriously?" Dana groaned, watching the reporters linger near the entrance, chatting with her manager. Her stomach turned when one of the reporters caught her eye and gave her a polite wave. "You're the talk of the town," a coworker teased. "Lucky me," Dana muttered under her breath, ducking behind the counter. She pulled out her phone and scanned the latest headlines. The comments flooded in faster than she could process. That note probably saved her life. This is a lesson in kindness. Small gestures mean everything. Somewhere beneath the swirling chaos, Dana felt the faintest flicker of hope. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about kindness and reminding people that small acts could make a big difference. That night, Dana reflected on everything that had happened. She sat in her small living room, holding the note in her hands. Its simple message had brought attention to her story, but more importantly, it had sparked a movement. What if everyone chose to act with such kindness? How much better would the world be? Dana realized that this moment wasn't just about her or Barron's gesture. It was an opportunity to inspire others to believe in the power of compassion. The next day, Dana decided to share her perspective. During her TV interview, she spoke from the heart. Kindness isn't about grand gestures or being in the spotlight. It's about noticing the invisible, lending a hand when someone is struggling, and reminding each other that we're not alone. Barron's note reminded me that even in my darkest moments, there's still light. If his act of kindness inspires someone else to do the same, then this story will have made a real difference. The host smiled, and Dana saw tears in the audience's eyes. "Dana," the host said, "what message do you have for the millions of people watching?" Dana took a deep breath. "Don't wait for a big moment to show kindness. Every small act matters. A smile, a kind word, or even just listening. It can change someone's life. We all have the power to make the world better, one act of kindness at a time."